Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started and talk about a couple of things. One of the things that we're going to be talking and sharing with you today is about our refreshed landing page. When you go to NeoGov, you go to Perform or Insight or OHC or whatever. That has all been seamlessly aligned on one dashboard now. So we're going to tell you about that. That's going to make things easier for you. We're also going to tell you about some some updates in the recruitment and hiring process. Very exciting. Yay! Some of those things will be reviewing applications, deciding their disposition as you're reviewing them to keep things orderly. We're also going to talk about your part of the approval process and some updates with that. And then we're also going to go through the workflow of everything to make sure that everybody has a clear understanding of what the changes are, the updates are, and how we're going to be doing those. Then we're also going to talk about Laserfish and how we've joined with some other departments in the city going paperless. It's really exciting. Now, I'm sure you're wondering why we're doing all of this. Well, I'm so glad you asked.
Why are we doing this?
Thank you, front row. This will allow you as a hiring manager to own and be more involved in the recruiting process. That's a really good thing. Also, it's going to save time and reduce errors. Everybody's time is valuable. We know that, and we want to help to reserve some of that time if we can. Also, this is gonna allow you to focus on the candidate's skills, the ones that are needed to strengthen your team, because there's no one that knows what your team needs more than you do. And then we're also gonna roll all these together and show why that this makes the city of Baytown an employer of choice. That's really important these days to have good employees. We want to be an employer of choice. Now we're gonna have Gray come up.
Whoa.
Why, thank you, Tracy.
You're so welcome, sir.
All right, let's talk about the landing page, aka the dashboard. So a lot of times I'm thinking, we're a hiring manager, and we got to do something in NeoGov, and we say, oh man, which one of these 4 programs do I go into? And you figure it out pretty quickly, but it still takes a couple of minutes sometimes. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have a lot of time. So I'm suspecting that you guys don't have a lot of time either. So rather than have you go to a whole bunch of different programs, platforms, and things like that, as Tracy mentioned, now we have the dashboard. With this dashboard, you can now see every single task that involves you, your team, on one landing page. And you can access everything. You no longer have to pick a separate app or anything like that. You're going to see all of them. If you take a look at it, again, your task of your team, everything you need is accessible from one page in NeoGov now. And there's lots of different ways that you can organize and sort these tasks. For example, take a look at the green rectangle. You can sort it by due date. You can sort it by the type of task. You can sort it by whose task it is. One of the things you're going to notice today, there's some flexibility. For example, that's one way you can see all the tasks. Okay, I'm going to show you 5 other ways to access all of this information. It's flexibility. Because one way may work better for you, another way may work better for someone else. So taking a look at the menu over at the left, you click on People. You can see everything, all the tasks that belong to your people. Everything that you have due, everything that they have to do. You're also going to see yours. And also, you can see your org chart. Make sure everybody's lined up properly. Sometimes within your departments, you change people around and things like that. You're going to have an opportunity to change it on the org chart within your. Now, this doesn't affect payroll or anything like that, but so that you can visually see your changes. You click on Performance. And you can use this to start to enter a journal entry. You can look at your evaluations, the completed ones, the ones upcoming. You can look at your direct reports and your direct reports. So you can access those tasks there. Clicking on Training. Again, still on the same landing page. All right, menu at the left. You can take a look at all the courses you completed, all the ones you have due, all the ones you've assigned to your employees, all the ones they've completed, all the ones that might be overdue, as well as all the ones that Kevin may have assigned you.
Which is all of them.
That's right. All right. So you can see all of that stuff. And then finally, reports. So let's say it's time to do the performance appraisals. And RJ is like, man, I don't want Greg calling me, so I'm gonna check. I'm gonna run a report. See that? See him back there? Okay, he's doing it. I'm gonna run a report and make sure all my people have all their stuff together because I don't want to hear Greg's voice. Okay, you can do that. Using this reports section, you can run standardized reports. You can also create some individual or specific reports, things like that. So anytime you have any questions and things on this, pretty self-explanatory, but we are always available to assist you with those and guide you through it. And don't be afraid to look in here and fiddle with these. You can't break it, okay? So just get in there and mess with it.
Challenge accepted.
Well, everybody except for Rachel. Rachel can pay for this. Maybe Kevin, I don't know. All right, well, let's say you just want to look at yours. Now keep in mind, all of those that I just listed, you can still look at yours, but let's say you just want to look at yours. Flexibility, there's another way. Click on my profile. You can see your job, title, just in case you don't know, what you're doing. You have access to the people that you're looking to hire, who you have in the hire process. You have access to your performance appraisal, the training that you've signed yourself, the ones you completed. And then, looking in the green square, you see talent. It's the second heading up there. So more to follow on this. This is essentially your resume while you're here at the city of Baytown. It's going to show the positions that you've had, any licenses, certifications that you have, any type of trainings that you've completed. So, again, something it's all in one spot. I know it was kind of a lot. I think we feel confident that once you get in there and mess with it, that it'll be pretty straightforward for you. The first time you sign into NeoGov starting February 1st, you're going to see a screen that looks very similar to this. It's a tutorial. You can do it as many times as you want to. You can come back to it, but it kind of guides you through pretty much everything that we've just talked about. But also, again, HR is available. If you have questions, if you need us to come over to your office or wherever you're stationed, like it was in the military station, we can come over and talk to you, and we can walk you through it. So I keep saying that over and over, and for the whole thing today, we are here to help you through this. And I'm going to turn it over to our HR specialist team, and they're going to handle the bulk of the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. Well, I'm Katie. I think I know most of you. This is my partner, Agnes. So we're going to go ahead and walk you through the updates and the enhancements made to the recruitment process. So we're really excited about this. I hope that rubs off on y'all. Actually, about 2 years ago, I had a hiring manager ask me about eliminating the salary approval form. They said, why can't we do this through NeoGov? Why do I have to type up a whole new form? And at the time, I totally agreed with them. NeoGov did not have an option at that time. But they make updates all the time. So about every quarter, they have a new update for us. So I'm super happy to say at this point, we are able to give that hiring manager what they were looking for. So this process is really going to help us create a more efficient way of reviewing those applications. It's really going to allow us to focus on the skills of the candidate and allow us to catch up to some industry best practices that are already going on out there that we just need to get with as well. So we're going to go ahead and start by telling you what those updates are. One of them, I know you watched the video that Grace sent out, is going to be the blinding of personal identifiable information. So that's a long way of saying the minute you look at that first application, you'll no longer see their name, address, phone number. You'll be able to really focus on their skill set rather than those parts. We are going to show you how to review those applications in order and assign those applications to the right disposition so you won't get lose track of where you are in your review process. And then this one we're really excited about. We're working on going paperless and joining some other city departments that are already there. So we're going to give you a way to upload new hire documents directly through NeoGov. So we're going to go ahead and just break that down for you, each item at a time. Agnes and I will describe it for you, but we're going to go ahead and start by watching the videos. You might recognize the voice of the narrator, our very own Yuritsa. So Yuritsa, take it away.
Starting February 1st, 2022, the city will begin using a more efficient hiring process. This process is in line with industry best practices, bringing efficiency and helping to ensure we are hiring the best possible candidates for our openings. Much of the current process is the same, but as you will see, there are some differences. As always, log into NeoGov. Within the dashboard, click on Recruiting at the far left. An HR specialist will send you only qualified applicants for your position. As you'll notice, you will not be able to see the applicant's name, address, and other personally identifiable information. Let's refer to this as PII. However, you can see the work experience of each person at this point. As before, review each applicant's work experience and decide the next steps. There are 3 options.
So you saw how that starts from the new dashboard that Gray told you about. So no longer are we having to log into NeoGov, find a drop-down, find the right operating profile that we got to get to in the OHC. From now on, it'll be right there on your dashboard. You'll see recruiting, you'll click on that, and then you'll be able to see the positions that you're currently working on. So once you get in there, again, you won't see their name, but you'll still be able to click on that application. And we're going to go in order, starting at the top, working our way down so that we don't lose track of where we are. You'll still be able to review that. You'll see their work experience. You'll see their education. You will no longer see resumes initially. You can see resumes and cover letters if you do interview that individual, but you won't see them as part of the initial application. So we've already gotten this feedback from other departments that they don't like having to get through that application, find external documents, look at those, see if they match up with the application. So Agnes and I are already working on making it clear to candidates up front that they need to fill out the application in full, and that's what we're going to look at first for that first review, so that you're not having to dive into other documents that they've attached. We'll make sure that they're aware that they got to get that all in the application up front, and that's what we're going to use for that initial screening.
I saw a question already. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. You can go first. Mine, I guarantee, is more complicated.
And if now's not the time to ask questions, please tell me when is.
We will take questions right after, but you're welcome to shout one out right now.
Okay. Because we can't see the PII anymore, how are we supposed to search this candidate across other platforms like Facebook, Instagram, all the other ways that we gather information to make sure that these folks are the people that we want to have in our organization?
So that sounds like something you would do much later in the process. That initial screen is we're looking at whether or not we want to bring that person in or even make a phone call to them and do an initial phone screen. So what you're talking about would happen later on. Initially, we just want to know, are we moving forward with this candidate for an interview, or are we not interested in this person at all right now and we need to let them know we're not moving forward?
Well, mine relates to that. So we have, kids that we hire one summer, but we don't want to hire back the next summer. But the only reason we know that is because we know their name. So it would be the same in parks.
So I'm gonna throw out there right now. We're gonna give you just an overview of the process. Some divisions do have division-specific requirements that we'll get with you, and we'll help you come up with a way to address that. But for now, we're just gonna go over an overview of the process. So let's say we looked at that first application. We know based on the limited experience that they entered, this person does not necessarily have the skill set that we need to round out our team. So we're going to go ahead and reject them right now so that they're no longer in our referred list. We're not going back, reviewing the same application over and over again, trying to decide if we want to see this person or not. We know now we're not going to move forward with them, so how do we handle that?
Option 1. If you decide you have no further interest in the applicant, please reject them. Pick a reason. and click Automatically Send a Notice. This generates an email from HR letting the applicant know we have no further interest. Then click Save.
We are so excited about this part. So I know in the past, our hiring managers did not have the ability to send messages through NeoGov. We are able to give that to you now. So this is a step that we're adding. All you'll need to do is select the code for why you're rejecting that individual, which in this case, you haven't interviewed them yet, will probably be not most qualified. And so you'll automatically be able to, right when you reject them, immediately send them that notice. So that's twofold a good thing. We don't have to worry about, did I tell that person or not? How many people do I have to go back and notify now? And also from the candidate's point of view, it doesn't feel good sitting out there for months and never hearing, like, I applied with you because I'm actively seeking a job and I really want to work for you, but if you're not considering me, I need to keep looking elsewhere. So this is a way to help us with that employer of choice branding.
And you'll see that option as we move through those that are maybes, those that we're going to interview, also has that same functionality because maybe the candidate's not our number one this time around. They may be just the person the next time around. So we are still, maybe, again, they're not the fifth this time, but they are still a candidate that we may want to pursue later.
Yeah, and so we owe them that communication. We owe them that respect. They took their time to apply with us, and we just want to let them know up front, we really appreciate you. Not now, but we really appreciate your time. So we can do that automatically. And another thing, we've already built those templates for you, so we're not asking you to sit there and compose some kind of lengthy letter. And also, when you hit send, it's going to come from HR. So I don't want you to be out there thinking, oh, the minute I send this, I'm going to get a call. Why not me? What was wrong with my application? Those will come straight to us. So you won't have to deal with that part either. That'll be something we can take off your plate. So let's say we've looked at that first application. Either we're not sure, we might want to interview them, but I'm not positive I want to bring them in yet. I've only looked at 5 so far. I've got a ways to go. Or maybe there are multiple hiring managers reviewing applications for the same position. I know I'm not going to hire this person. Agnes needs a great person though, and so she might want to take a look at it. So I don't want to automatically reject that person and send them a notice until she's had the opportunity to look. So we have added a step in your workflow process for maybe, which means that you'll have an opportunity to move an application into maybe, and then that'll give you the chance to perhaps revisit that and see, maybe I do want to bring them in, or maybe at this point I've seen enough and I know I'm not going to move forward with them, so I'll let them know at that point. So let's show you how to do that.
Option 2. If you would like to consider the applicant later, enter a brief note describing why. Then, under the Actions dropdown, click Move to Maybe. Each maybe must have a note describing why they are not in the reject or interview steps.
And so again, we're doing this as we're reviewing. So that first application we looked at, we reject, we're able to immediately look at the next one. We're going to move them straight to maybe and keep working our way down so we don't get confused about which ones we've already looked at. The note part is really important. You could say may look at in the future, or you may say not for me, but Agnes might be interested, so I'm going to leave this for her to look at. So that'll help us keep track of where we're at.
And you think of it as the sticky note. When you're not sure, I still have a lot more to look at in candidates. This is looking good, but I'm just not sure yet. It's that sticky note. It's a time saver in that when you go back to say, why did I move them? And maybe, here's why. This is what I want to revisit. This is what I want to look at. So think of that note part as that sticky note. So you're not having to rethink that later or keep that in your head.
I am going to throw out a caution, though, because we all know about public records, right? So anything we type in here could be accessed at a later time and distributed to the public if it's requested. So be mindful of what you're writing in there. So,
That was polite.
oh, thank you. I was trying to word that in my head.
That's true. You want to remember now why you wrote that. Not
Right.
now.
So we have reviewed a couple applications, we get to one, I know I want to talk to this person. I know I want to bring this person in or at least have an initial phone call with them, but I don't know their name. I don't know their phone number. How am I supposed to do this? So, Yuritsa, how do we do this?
Glad you asked. Option 3. If you would like to move forward with the applicant, please choose Interview from the dropdown. Then, from the same dropdown, choose Request PII Access. Within 24 to 48 hours during the work week, an HR specialist will release the applicant's personal information to you so that you may contact them for an interview.
Okay, if you looked too close, you might have seen Johnny Depp in there. That was a college phase. I'm over it. Don't worry. So now we know we want to interview that individual. At that point, we're moving them to the interview step. You will not be able to request PII in anyone you don't move to the interview step. So go ahead, move them to interview step, and then you can immediately request PII. You can put all of your candidates you want to interview in there and bulk request PII on them, however you want to do it. But a couple of important things, if you put them into the interview step and you're requesting that PII, you do have to interview each one of those candidates. And since you're interviewing those candidates, you'll have notes that you'll need to attach to the offer step a little bit later on. So if you're moving them in there, just be mindful, you are going to be interviewing that individual. When you request that PII, you've got a great HR team. We have added extra staff members, like Tracy said, this year, because we know that there are going to be some extra work with these enhancements. We want to make sure we have a big enough team to help you with that. So you'll go ahead and you'll request that PII. One of the staff members in 1 to 2 business days will be able to submit that directly to you. And as you saw, as soon as we share that, you'll see their names, you'll see their phone numbers, so you'll be able to set up those interviews. So after I've interviewed my couple of top candidates, right? One of them I know I'm not going to move forward with. For whatever reason, I don't need to leave them in process as a secondary candidate. I know I'm not moving forward with this person. So again, we can immediately notify them that they're not selected. So they're not sitting out there waiting for our call. So let's see how to do that.
After the interview, there are 2 options. If you decide you have no further interest in the candidate, please reject them. Choose Reject from the dropdown, pick a reason, and click Automatically Send a Notice. Again, this will generate an email from HR. Then, click Save.
So we've already interviewed them. We know we're not moving forward. We can immediately let them know. So I think this will help a lot. After we interview, the candidate's last question is usually, when will I hear something? At this point, you'll have the ability to send them that notice as soon as you're taking them out of process. So you can say with confidence, this is when you'll hear something, since you'll be able to do it yourselves now. And then this is the part we were all hoping to get to. We found the one. So we're going to make an offer.
If you want to move forward with hiring this candidate, choose Move to Offered from the dropdown. Complete the offer details page within the offer approval form, but do not complete the offer amount field. Click Save and Continue to Next Step. Verify the information on the approval workflow page and click Save and Continue to Next Step. Scan in the interview notes separately for each candidate. This may include letters of recommendation or work samples provided by the candidate. Also add reference check notes for the candidate that you are hiring. For example, if you interviewed 3 candidates and are hiring one of them, you will attach 4 files, one for each candidate and the reference check notes for the candidates you are hiring. Please do not scan them all into one single file. Attach these files on the Attachment tab. Then, click Save and Submit.
So one of the questions we received is, but I don't do this now and I'm going to have to do this now? No, it's not going to change your current process. I think many departments have an assistant, whoever's doing that role currently for you. So it's not changing your role in terms of who is interviewing or reviewing the applications. This would be that part. This eliminates a couple of forms, the salary request form and the
It's called the new hire submission checklist,
It goes
which is
on
like
and
the
on and on and
longest
on.
name in the world.
And so now it will all be online, and we'll see here in just a moment the ease that that will be on there. So when you're looking at all of this, we want you to have a picture from start to finish on that process, but it won't mean that, well, now I'll be doing it and this person will be doing it and someone else will be doing it. No, it'll just now be online as part of that.
Yeah, so right now there's somebody in your department, whenever you select a hire, there's somebody out there filling out a salary approval form, and there's somebody filling out that new hire submission checklist form. They're gone, yay, we're getting rid of forms. But we're not getting the information. We'll just be able to fill it all in on the system so you won't have to fill out that extra form. So the salary approval form, in the past, you had to type in there what the requirements of the position were, what the preferred criteria were, and then how your candidate meets those requirements. We're eliminating those top two sections. We don't need you to fill that information out. We have the job description. We'll get it from there, so we're not going to ask you to do that anymore. All you'll need to do is let us know how they meet those requirements. So we have a form built in here for you that'll just indicate what fields you're going to need to enter. So, of course, the first one, what requirements do they meet? What preferred criteria do they meet, if they have any? And then that new hire submission checklist that Agnes mentioned, that is where in HR we get a lot of information on how to set that candidate up in the appropriate systems ahead of time before they start, so that when they walk in that first day, they're already in ExecuTime. They can already clock in and out. Or maybe they need building access. Maybe they need a prox card to clock in and out with. This is the information that we need to make sure that they're set up and ready for them for that first day. So I'm going to get closer because I can't see that far. You'll enter their supervisor's name. So we know who to set up as their supervisor in NeoGov, and that's the person that'll be doing their evaluations. Sometimes there might be more than one supervisor in your department. Like if I'm out that day, I can't approve your time, but Agnes is able to approve time. You'll indicate on this form for us who the other person is so that we make sure they have access to their time cards as well. Then you're also going to set up if they need, I can't see that far either. Oh wait, Tori did this for me. She zoomed in. She's so smart. She knew this was going to happen. So does that position need a preloaded schedule in ExecuTime, or do they clock in and out? So we need to know that to set up their profile correctly. Let's see, if they have either way, if they have a preloaded schedule, if they clock in and out, do they need a lunch deduction? Like maybe if they work a full day, they need a half-hour lunch deduction. You can tell us there, it's half hour. If they need an hour lunch deduction, that's where you'll tell us. This is also where you'll let us know if they need a prox card. So maybe they clock in and out with their prox card, or maybe they need building access. So if this individual needs building access, you'll let us know, get them a prox card, make sure they can get into City Hall, and we'll be able to set it up like that for them. So then the other two sections right at the bottom, there are some other forms you'll need to submit. So as we said, we're able to do that all through NeoGov. You'll no longer have to put a big packet together and either scan it and email it, or walk it over to City Hall, or put it in the interoffice mail and hope it gets to us and that we're in to get it. Now when you do those interview questions and the reference checks, you'll be able to attach those to this form. So we are indicating a naming convention. Yuritsa and Rachel are going to tell us a little bit more about Laserfish, which we're really excited about, going paperless. But because of that, we do need things to be named correctly. But we've put the naming convention in here for you, so you won't have to wonder, how did they want me to name that? It's in here for you already. So in this case, interview questions, it's going to be last name, comma, first name, interview questions, year, month, day. So that's just what you'll call it. And we do need to scan those appropriately as well. So for any individual, like I've interviewed 5 people for this position. Agnes sat in with me on all of those. So each one of those people will have a file. So Agnes and my notes will be scanned in together for that person and then scanned in together for the next person. Reference checks, you'll be able to attach those as well. A similar naming convention. and that's entered in here for you too. There's also a section at the bottom if you need to make any comments. So for example, maybe you want to get a call back from us before we extend that offer just to confirm the dollar amount. You can ask us to do that there. If you interviewed that candidate and they have a bunch of extra experience that they forgot to put on their application that you want us to consider while we're working on that offer, you can make some notes there. I think also some divisions, you might need us to assign that person to a specific cost center or general ledger code. If you need us to know specifically what code that is, you can enter that here as well.
We see that in public works, engineering, parks.
Sometimes in parks.
Where you may have the same title, but they're in a different GL code. So right now we see that on the paper form. This will just be in the comment box now.
And so what's next after that is you filled out the offer request. The next screen that you go to will show you the approval workflow. So it'll show you who it's going to directly next. And this is something else that I'm excited about, the dashboard. So right now when you send us that big packet of paperwork, maybe somebody just dropped it on our desk. Maybe it's in the mailbox for who knows how long. Maybe it's in an email. Right now, it comes from any number of places, so sometimes they get lost. Going forward, starting February 1st, on that beautiful dashboard that Grace showed us, it's going to pop up right on top for us as one of our tasks. And it'll be there until we've addressed it. So it'll be very easy for us to get there. We're in NeoGov all the time. Even if we're not necessarily at our desks or checking the mail, we're always in NeoGov. So we'll be able to address it pretty quick for you.
As you're looking at this, you say, okay, there's a whole lot of writing and you can't see it from there. There are drop downs built into this, so you're not going to have to say, now I've got to type all this out and well, what is that schedule and what is the, there are drop downs built into it. So those things that are automatic, it will be a lot easier than it looks on the current screen.
And then the last part before you submit the offer is attaching those files. So attaching the interview notes, attaching the reference checks. It's great because you can just highlight them all and drag and drop. So it's a super easy process to attach them. Then it'll come straight to us and then we'll be able to take care of it for you. So I know that was a lot, but I think it's really going to help us with a more efficient process. So we talked about the blinding of PII, making sure we go through those applications in order and assigning them to the right disposition so that we don't get confused about which one we've looked at already. And then, of course, uploading the forms and working towards going paperless. I'm going to ask HR if they would like to throw out anything else if we forgot to say something. And then Agnes and I can take a couple of questions before we move on with the rest of the presentation. Unless there aren't any. Okay.
No question. So back to Jenna's question.
Yes, sir.
So can I assume that, like most systems, y'all have super users in HR? So I think to her point, and it could happen to anyone here, I might have fired somebody for some heinous act last month that now they've applied again. So I don't know that until I see the PII. There's that name again. I go to you and I say, Katie, no, I'm not going to interview that person. There's got to be a super user way where you can trigger the...
Absolutely. Things will come up that might just need a call to us and we'll take care of it for you. So, yeah, don't worry about that. We can certainly address those as they come up. Jenna was first. Sorry, Jenna?
We don't do offer approval forms right now for part-time staff, for seasonal staff. So since that's now how it's set up in NeoGov, are we going to be doing those?
So y'all are kind of a totally different situation in aquatics, so your situation will be handled differently. Did you have anything else?
I would say I hope you have time after this meeting to come on over.
Right, yeah. Call us, we'll figure it out together. Tammy, I think you had one?
So does everyone who sits in on the interview have to fill out questions?
If they're making notes while they're in the interview, you'll attach those notes. If they're not making notes, there won't be anything to attach.
I don't have to give a copy of questions to every foreman. Sometimes I have 4 or 5 foremen in my interview. They don't all have to fill out questions for that person.
If they're weighing in on the selection, it is beneficial that they have their notes and that those are added in there. for down the line when if there is ever a question in terms of, and it says, and Tammy, you hired this person. Well, I was one of 5 people in there.
Yeah.
We don't see 5 people in there. So I think if they're weighing in on it, if they're participating in that, they should be giving that feedback on the candidates, and we would put that in there. Does that answer or?
Yeah. I have one more. So say we interview someone and we don't want them. Do we have to submit those questions to you?
Yeah, so there is a records retention on interview questions. You've interviewed that individual, you know you're not moving forward. You're gonna attach those interview questions to the offer. So it'll be for anyone you are choosing to hire and everybody else you've interviewed. You'll attach them all at once. Y'all can then shred your copies. We'll maintain those for you for that records retention. You won't have to worry about it after that.
I would say for you specifically, this is a great thing. You are already doing these things, and now it's going to be a lot just getting to having that scanner. You got to have a really good scanner. But other than that, it's just making it a little bit different. Muscle memory.
Let me get Sean next. You had a
Yeah, just how are you guys going to handle the people who are already in process? I know that.
great question. So we have already updated the workflow for all of your postings to include that maybe step. So what we're going to ask you to do is before February 1st, get in there and make sure that the applications that you have received already are in the right disposition. So either reject everybody you're not interested in. You don't need to send them notices now. That'll happen February 1st. Any maybes, you can move those into the maybe. Anyone in interview or in the offer step, once we have turned everything on, our team is going to work that day on sharing the PII for anybody you currently have in process in interview or in offer. So if you want to interview those people, make sure to get them moved over to the right disposition before the 1st. And then even if you haven't had a chance, call us and we'll be working through that first week together. So we'll be able to help you through all that.
I think she had a question.
Yeah, she did. Did you have something else?
Oh, just a helpful hint. When you leave from here, what do I need to do to be getting ready? Look at your recs, see what needs to be cleaned up. If you know they're in referred, but you know those are definitely no's, go ahead and get that all. Get the paper gone.
We'll be cleaning stuff up too, so we'll be doing this all together. Yes, ma'am.
So I noticed on the little screenshot that it had like a identification number that kind of like serves, I guess, as the anonymous name. So does that number stick with the individual throughout all the applications that they do in the city of Baytown, or for every application is it a different ID number?
I'm going to give you a slightly complicated answer. It is associated to their profile. So if they've set up 5 profiles and they've applied for different positions with all different profiles, it could be scattered. If they've only ever set up 1 profile, it'll be the same number for every position they've applied for. But there are folks out there who have lots of profiles. So that's just something we can't really help with, just depending on if they forgot their password or they have 6 different emails or their wife set it up or whatever. So that's the answer. It's a complicated answer. I'm sorry. Sure.
So once everything has been submitted to HR for approval or whatever, is there a way for us to track where you are in the process?
Actually, there is. It's kind of cool. Yeah. So once we get it and we take that first look at it, unless we have any issues, we're going to submit that to our final approver. And you're able to see in NeoGov where it's at, if it's with us still or if it's at the second step yet. So as soon as it gets past that second step, we'll be following up with you to get that person onboarded if we're able to hire them. But you'll be able to see if it's at us or if it's at that second step.
Just a minute, Rachel.
I'm good. I got nothing to tell.
Any other? Because we'll be taking questions again here when we finish. So we're just partway through this presentation. We're about to. Rachel's going to share with you in terms of laserfish. And one more question before we move on, so that's fresh. Okay.
All right, well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. We appreciate your time. We're really excited to work with you through this process. And again, I know there's going to be a bit of a learning curve those first couple of weeks. We're going to be with you through the whole thing. So just call us, come by. There's a lot of us. We're all over here, but just come by and we'll help you through it. And we're going to turn it over to Rachel and Eureka.
All right. As if all of that wasn't awesome enough, we've got more for you. So, HR is really excited to be joining several other city departments, most other city departments, in going paperless.
Yay!
This is something we've all been working towards for the last couple of years as an organization, and you can list off the departments that have done some pretty Herculean efforts to get paperless, and we are now on board with that too. We've been very blessed with the city clerk's office, who spent the last year plus helping us to digitize all of our employee records. So that's a lot of scanning and naming and saving and filing and putting retention to. And they have spent countless hours doing that for us. And we're happy to say that we now have all digital employee files. So we're really excited about that. It's a big project and we are there.
Yes.
So for us, they're gone. Paperwork's gone, right? And I know you're thinking to yourself right now, this sounds super cool. How could you possibly make that happen? Well, there's a really great software system called LaserFish. You might say Laserfish, tomato, whatever you want to call it. What it is, it's a big content management system, which is kind of a snooty way of saying like a Q drive on steroids, right? So it files and it maintains all of those records for us. Which helps us to eliminate a lot of waste that we see in our processes, right? When you think about how long it takes to find records, and when you think about storing those records, and all the things you have to do with those records, when people have to file through different pieces of paperwork just to find something that we're looking for, that's a lot of time and effort on everybody's part to find these records. And now that's all been automated, which is super cool. And I can see by the look on your face that you are thinking, this is so cool. But what do you want from me? Why do I care, right? I know why you want to care about this. Because we don't want your paperwork anymore, right? We've gotten rid of all this paperwork and we can't keep generating it. So we have worked with Laserfish. They have a really cool component called LaserKit Forms. And this is a way to create a form with workflow. So it's an electronic form that you fill out and it has built-in workflow that you make for it so that it goes to the right approval process and then it saves all of the information and it names itself and it files itself automatically without us having to do anything because we've built the form that way.
Yay.
Right? How cool is that? So moving forward, as of February 1st, we want you to go to, anytime you have some records that you need HR to have for a personnel file, we want you to go to the intranet forms page. Maybe you've been there before and maybe you haven't. So moving forward, this is where you're going to go. Where are you going to go to get forms?
Intranet forms page.
Yes, I'm glad you said that. Intranet forms page. And you'll see the very first link on there when you get to the intranet forms page is a link that says send employee documents to HR. That is what you will click on to get the employee documents to us. And I'm going to hand you over to Yari and she's going to tell you exactly what to do.
Yes. So like Rachel was saying, once you click on send employee documents to HR, you'll get taken to this employee document upload form. So basically what this form is any documents that you're submitting. So for example, Tracy just got CPR certified, which means that she has a really cool certificate that says you are now certified to perform CPR on someone. Hopefully you don't have to save a life. So she would submit it through here. So how she would do that is first you'll enter the submitter's email address. So who's submitting this form? Just in case we have any questions or follow-ups, we know who to touch base with. From there, you'll submit the information for whoever, whatever employee you are adding the document for. So for example, you would add Tracy as a first name, Woolston as the last name, her employee ID number, so your city ID number, the one that you got assigned whenever you first got hired on with us. And then from there, you'll select from the file types. So for this, it's a form of training, so you would select training from there. And then afterwards, just give us a brief file description, so a brief synopsis of what this is. CPR training certificate is enough for us, just something that'll show us exactly what it is that this document is talking about. Once you've done that, you'll upload the document. It's a quick drag and drop as well. And then you're good to go. Let's say you have multiple documents that you want to submit for Tracy. What you'll do is you'll click add in the bottom left-hand corner. And then from there, you'll be able to add as many documents that you need to add for Tracy as possible. And then hit submit at the end. It'll go to HR. It'll get filed in her employee file, and you will be all done. But if you thought we were done, we are not. So we've actually already been working, like Rachel said, on building a couple of these LaserFish forms to help streamline our processes as much as possible. So one of the forms that we use on a more common basis is the PCF, or payroll change form. I know HR uses it, all departments do because everybody wants to get paid, and of course finance, payroll do too. So within the PCF, instead of utilizing that Excel spreadsheet, you'll use the LaserFish form. Very similar to the document upload. First, you'll enter the submitter's email address, so who's submitting this form. From there, you'll enter the effective date. So when is this payroll change going to take effect? Also, the employee information, their first name, their last name, their employee ID number. And then afterwards, really cool part about how LaserFish works is that you can build in kind of branches to stem off of it. So for example, this branch is this a new employee or is this an existing employee? So the information that you fill out for a new employee is a little bit different than what you would do for an existing employee. So if you click new, it'll only populate the fields that you need to enter for a new employee, helping you save some time trying to identify which fields you need to fill out, which ones you don't. Once you're done with the PCF, you'll hit submit and it'll start the workflow. So the first part in the workflow is going for approval. So it'll go to both directors and admins for their approval. They'll review the PCF. If everything looks correct, they'll hit approve, and then it'll go through the entire workflow, going to HR, going to payroll, and ultimately getting set up in the systems and getting saved in the employee file. But really cool part about this is we don't have to touch any paper anymore. We don't have to walk it over to Lori's desk, to Eliana's desk. Oh no, where did it get lost in the file? Stack of files that we have, it's all going to be in the system, so hopefully we can get everybody set up as soon as possible. But that's all I have for y'all. I'm going to hand it back over to Rachel. I know it's a lot of things that we spoke about, so she's going to go over the different key points, and we can answer any other questions that y'all may have.
All right, so where are you going to go to find your forms?
Internet
Forms page.
We're going to be continuously updating that page as we build new LaserFish forms. So I do definitely want you to keep going there. If you need any type of form for payroll, HR, any of those things, go to the Internet Forms page because it may already be a LaserFish form. We've already created 4 or 5 of them, and we're just going to keep going because it's a lot of fun. So to refresh, to close this thing out, when are all of these changes going into effect? February 1st. That's next Tuesday. So starting February 1st, you're going to see that refreshed landing page, that one-stop shop dashboard. You're going to see the changes and updates and enhancements in the hiring process, including all that workflow information, how you can upload your interview notes and your reference checks automatically into NeoGov, and all of those different approval processes that have been discussed today. We're also going to be paperless starting February 1st, so don't send us any paper. Click on the Internet Forms page, send us your documents electronically that way. And for those of you that are like, Rach, that's not enough, I need something more. We've got more for you. If you're interested, you also have the ability to do e-reference checks in NeoGov and to do the interview self-scheduler, which is super cool because it allows you to set up blocks of times, very specific, for how you want to do your interviews, and then it will send an email to your applicants and they can log in and pick their own interview time. So you can take that right off your plate too. If you're interested in that, talk to your HR specialist and they can walk you through that a little bit more as well too. Some more time savings for you. Just sprinkling that fairy dust out there. That is all we have. If you don't have any other questions, thank you again for spending your afternoon with us. We really appreciate it. We are excited about all of these changes. We know it's a lot, and we're here to walk through it with you. So don't hesitate to give us a call, grab us on the side, talk about your specific situation, whatever you want to do, go to Internet Forms.